So my name's Andrew, and this presentation has been heavily designed by my daughter when she was 4 years old. So I was working on a project, and I actually had her help on designing this mobile UX project. So this is what you can learn from a 4-year-old about ponies and mobile UX. All right, so anytime I do any talks on kids, I always start with this from Rainie from the Pew Institute. People 2, 3, and 4 years apart are having completely different experiences with technology. So keep this in mind for later in the presentation. So this is my daughter Oriana. So this is a little sketch I made of her when she was like 2. And there we go. And when she was 2.5, she created this character called Sad Butterfly. Okay? So we used to play these games in the backyard involving Sad Butterfly. And Sad Butterfly had her friends, and they happened to be ponies. So every day we would go in the backyard, and we would play the Sad Butterfly game. I would hide ponies in the backyard, and she would go find them. So one summer, when she was 4, I was doing a brewer's website relaunch, responsive. We had to create a mobile and desktop user experience that captured the lifestyle of the brand, allows users to participate in contests, giveaways, and so on. And we also optimized a lot of the site elements for mobile. Now the other project that was going on at the same time is I was doing something for an energy drink company, and we're building a mobile app that users could use at concerts and at bar events and capture and do contests at those events. So these were our users. They were mobile. They were using the app in various settings, loud places, not necessarily well lit, bars, outdoor events, out with their friends. So beverages were being imbibed at these events. So we had to take that into account for the UX. So I started off the project, and then I said, hey, what if we found the ponies in the mobile UX? So my daughter would help me find the ponies. So one of the things that I did was I substituted all of the brand content in the UX mock-ups with ponies. So took out all the beverage containers, all that, and replaced them with ponies. And then I said, hey, you're going to help Dad find all the ponies on the site. Whoops, sorry. So we're back to this quote again, where people 2, 3, 4 years apart are having completely different experiences with technology. So my kids were 11, 6, and 4 when I did this project. Lo and behold, they move into the future. They're older. And my daughter was born in 2002. So everyone remembers digital cameras in 2002? Yes? And it came with that awesome 256 meg, flash card. You could take like 4 pictures, and then you were done. My son was born basically 1 year before the iPhone came out. And my daughter is completely, her experience is everything is touch. So this is her when she was 2 years old with one of my original phones, my LG Voyager, my favorite phones until it went through the wash. But this is how she describes interacting with content. She goes, now swipe, then tap. This is her entire life. Everything is swipe, swipe, tap. So part of this is I started to integrate what she thinks about mobile and mobile UX into my designs. And when we build stuff for mobile, it's a balancing act. Everyone likes to play Jenga, yes? No? Yeah. Woo! All right, everyone go get Jenga. So we have some constraints and behaviors. We have some capabilities and needs that are part of the project. And part of this is I integrated Fitts Law into my style with my daughter. So everyone knows Fitts Law? Yes? All right, here's the Wikipedia definition. I'll read it from here. Fitts Law, a model of human movement which participates the time required to react rapidly to movement to a target area and a function of the distance to the target and the size of the target. All right, now we know what Fitts Law is all about. Okay, so basically it boils down to the bigger the target, the easier it is to hit it. So when I was designing stuff with my daughter in mind, I had to take some considerations that when you have small touch targets, you have really big problems. So the standard touch target is generally 44 pixels. This was the assumption a couple years ago based on how big your finger was. Everyone understands where 44 comes from? This was the idea that if you came at an interface like straight on, the tip of your finger is approximately 44 pixels. And so, but then someone said, well, people don't do that. People don't come at interfaces straight on like this. They kind of push down on them. So people then started to say, okay, let's make it 56 because that's about the size of your finger pad. Then everyone starts using their thumbs. So now the standard is 72 for thumbs. And how many people text with their thumbs? All right. See, so now we have to do our mobile UX based on the 72. So one of the things is, we got, initially the designers came up with these buttons and on the left, and we're like, this is not going to work because here's the standard finger impression on the button and then the thumb button. So we're trying to go to the our client and say, you got to have these big ass buttons. And they're like, why? Because everyone's going to use their thumb, they're going to be in a bar, it's going to be loud, and they're going to be drunk. You want them to participate in your contest or whatever, make the buttons really big. So they didn't buy into that until we actually did some user testing, and then lo and behold, they came back and they said, make the buttons bigger. So this is from Luke W., basically saying how people hold some mobile devices. And what I found is that kids happen to use the far one on here on the right with the thumbs, dual action sort of thing, game controller action, as I like to call it. And again, we're looking at what are the easy targets, what are the easy areas on the device to touch. Any questions so far? No. Am I going too fast? Okay, good, all right. So this is my daughter when she plays games, she presses down really hard. So again, we're reinforcing that whole 70 or 57 pixel up to 72 pixel square because they're using the whole finger to push down on things. So this led us to the whole argument, the skeuomorphic versus flat at the time. Everyone remember skeuomorphic design? Yay, I miss it. Okay. So it's good in practice, but so you've got the shopping cart. Everyone's good with the shopping cart? All right. So this is what my daughter had been grown up and used to. So slide unlock, pretty standard, yes? Let's fast forward to iOS 7. So this is what happened. I updated the phone to iOS 7. My daughter comes running into the room, and she's like, I have no idea what to do. So they removed basically the standard, skeuomorphic slide to unlock with this like stylish style to unlock. So this led us to basically go back to the client and say, you got to be clear first, clever second. Otherwise, you're going to run into problems with users if you're trying to be too clever with your interface. And again, my daughter, this was like the iPad once it was updated, not very happy because she ran into the room and goes, who broke the iPad? Hashtag iOS 7. And it's because she basically couldn't find anything. She had gotten accustomed to the entire interface in a certain way, now it was a different way. And she was a sad butterfly. So I'm like, okay, let's make the butterfly happy. And the reason she was a sad butterfly is she wanted to play games, number one being the My Little Pony game. And she was used to the game center on the left, and now she's being presented with little bubbly thingies on the right. And she had no concept of where to find her games. All right. So one of the things is that when I was designing it, I said, hey, you're going to help me design it. And she goes, so you're going to be an artist? And she said to me, the first thing is, I'm already an artist. So if you want to follow my daughter, she actually has her own Twitter account. It's I_M_Oriana. And what happens is she'll run into my office and she'll go, tell the world X. And tell the world means to tweet it out. So So we have this easel in our living room, so she draws, and then while I'm working in my office, she'll draw stuff and then bring it to me. And usually when she was before 4, this is like what her schematics look like. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm making an app for this beverage company. She's like, oh, let me help you. Scribble, 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 scribble. And this is like, make it like this. And I'm like, all right, and what do you mean by that? And she's like, well, see that color right there? Make it that color. I'm like, that's not bad. So then I started asking her questions of like, okay, what color should things be? So I would get these cryptic things like, I want more avocado. And I'm like, all right, what do you mean by that? And she's like, make it green like avocado. And then she would run away. And then I'm like, that's not a bad idea. So then I would Google an image of an avocado, pick some colors out of the avocado. Lo and behold, client likes the avocado-colored mock-ups. And then every once in a while when I'm working, I'll show her some stuff, and she'll do the, I don't like it, but I still love you. Aww, okay. So this is where it all starts. It's with this My Little Pony app that I created. So the first thing was I'd say like, hey, let's go find the ponies. And so then I'll be like, hey, where's Pinkie Pie? And where's Midnight? Okay. And I'm not a brony, but I know these names now. Okay, so she's like, all right, so let's go. So remember, she goes like, the tap, tap, swipe, swipe, tap, and there we find ponies. Okay, so swipe, swipe, tap, pretty straightforward. And, then everyone's like, well, why don't we just make the images in the app pinch and zoom? And this is from actually Apple's HIG document, the pinch and zoom. How many people have done pinch and zoom recently? How many people like to pinch and zoom? All right. Here's the thing with kids. Kids don't understand the concept of pinch and zoom. So if you're going to think about, if your client goes to you and goes, hey, let's put pinch and zoom into the account or into the app, don't do it. You're going to alienate an entire segment of users because they don't understand it. My daughter is 13. She kind of gets pinch and zoom. My 9-year-old, no concept of pinch and zoom. 6-year-old doesn't care about pinch and zoom. And if you tell her you have to pinch and zoom, she'll just throw the app at your back. She'll be like, I don't want it. Okay, so we're back to this whole now swipe, then tap, how to use my dad's phone. So if you're very tempted to do pinch and zoom, remember that there's an entire generation of kids growing up with this as their experience with touch devices. Swipe, swipe, tap. No pinch and zoom in them. So we come back to our My Little Pony app, and the first thing is that she did the swipe, swipe, tap to find Pinkie Pie, and then I was like, the client's like, let's have off-canvas navigation, and we're like, no. And they're like, yeah, you touch the thing, and there's like some ponies, and then you touch it again, and the ponies go away. And the client's like, exactly what do we want? And then, so I built this, and then I gave it to my daughter, and she's like, boink, boink, boink. And, I'm like, okay, why is this happening? And then she became a sad butterfly again. And one of the problems is that when you design stuff like off-canvas menu systems, you have to really be careful, your JavaScript, because you have to look at press versus tap events. And kids are very press, even though they prefer press over tap. So what you want to do is, think about using the standard on release is what we use as adults. You want to use on press. And it's much more friendly from a kid's perspective because they like to hold things down. If you actually look at people on the subway, they tend to do more on press events. So then we went back to the client. We said, this off-canvas stuff is really kind of kooky. Let's not do it. And then I showed my daughter this version, and she's like, yay. And that was all simply by changing on release to on press. Much more better. Now, then what we did is, okay, what would happen if the user turned off JavaScript? How many people have turned off JavaScript on their phones? All right. So so we built this fallback model. So again, all it is you press on the menu icon and it just jumps down to the bottom. And we're just using a really simple HTML anchor tag as a fallback if not JavaScript's been turned off. So these are things that are enhancing the user experience. These are things that a 4-year-old kid can actually use well and navigate through your application. So then it came time to do some more user testing on my daughter. And what we did is I said, okay, we got to take all this content that the user or the client's given us and put it into some kind of usable format. So we looked at the content, and then I rearranged the content, and I turned it into a little Playmobil toy thing. So I said, okay, now this is the main page. So this is the prince, and the prince has to take the ponies to the party. How is he going to get the ponies to the party? And so then what my daughter did is she rearranged all the content based on getting the prince to the pony party. So we used that model then to do some card sorting with her. So we laid out some of the prizes that you could find in the app. And what I did is I took it's a game called Sleeping Queens. And I said, okay, take all this stuff and match it up. So she gave me like 3 different versions of matchups. So this was like your friends list. So she actually put all the knights together. And then we took that to the client and says, let's put all the friends together. And then she did some other stuff where like she put all the things that were like blue together. And so like we said, let's color code the important stuff blue and put it together. And then this, it actually made more sense once we actually put the client's content back into the card sort, but it actually worked, and the client bought into this whole mix match, get your friends to go, card sorting methodology. So then my daughter was able to find all the ponies. So then we took out the ponies and then we substituted in the client's content. Yep. And then the client came back and goes, that's awesome, give me more, well, here's some more content. We're like, no. So we actually had to edit the content ruthlessly. So always have a Hello Kitty chainsaw handy when the client hands you too much content. And then we started looking at performance as well. So one of the things is, once you start building your app and start building your mobile or responsive site, think about how you're going to get all this content into the site and have it perform well. So what we did is we tested in the wild. So we turned off the Wi-Fi and we found all the dark spots in Toronto. Everyone knows where the dark spots are in your neighborhood, where you get like no Wi-Fi or no network connection. And then we tested our application without the Wi-Fi and with like only 1 bar for networking. Now this was really important because we actually found out while we were developing the app that the client was going to have this surprise concert, but the surprise concert was going to be like basically in a concrete bunker. And they're supposed to be pushing content out to the people in this concrete bunker while there's a band playing, while their product was being served. And the last thing we needed was like the client to come back and, yeah, the concert went over well, but your app sucked. So what we did is we rejigged the app based on finding out how can it perform well under no network conditions. So we did this preloading of content in the background and all this other fun stuff. And then if your connection is really bad, you're going to end up with a sad butterfly, or in this case, a mad client. And the whole idea is that if you can actually start thinking about how a 4-year-old will use your content, or navigate through your content, navigate through your app, and use your responsive site, you're actually going to help the sad butterfly find the ponies. And if a 4-year-old can find the ponies, so can your user. Yes, no?
Yeah, what's the one big takeaway from working with a 4-year-old to your UX?
To do your UX? They're going to be brutally honest. Like if you hire, like if you get a user group in and they'll be like, you're gonna test your app or the website, and you're gonna pay them in like gift cards or something. Like they're gonna be like, yeah, that wasn't so bad. Where's my gift card? Whereas a 4-year-old's like, that's horrible, and they're gonna basically toss the phone over their shoulder as they're walking away from you. So if it's not good, you're gonna have the brutally honest feedback plus a possibly broken device at the same time. Any other questions? Yes?
With a device orientation, how do you effect on
Kids actually hold the device the standard portrait way. They don't go into landscape. So usually whatever you present to the kid, that tends to be the method that they actually interact with. So if you start off portrait, they'll stay portrait. If you give it to them landscape, they'll keep it landscape.
How do they feel about like the motion sensing stuff?
Motion sensing stuff is good until it fails or it doesn't trigger properly. So don't do motion sensing user testing on kids with big devices, because big devices are heavy, they get bored, and they tend to drop them. But they tend to overcompensate. So if it's like shake to clear, it's not just like shake, it's like violent shaking. So you're going to have to take that kind of thing into account. And it happens with adults. So if you give an adult, like a remote control and the batteries are on it, they tend to push the buttons harder and harder, hoping that the channel will change. Kids will do the same thing. Like if it doesn't happen, it just gets shaken more and more violently. Yes?
You mentioned in one of your slides that be simple first, then smart. What are the things that you are smart about?
If when you start building your interface, like everyone knows, like just have clear labels and clear iconography. Like if you start thinking, okay, if I go back in the presentation, there's the new. So I think that this was what Apple was trying to do, is they're trying to be cute and clever. Is they had this. Okay, so to me this is like straightforward, clear labeling. It's games. 4 bubbles overlapping with transparency does not scream games at me. So to me, this is trying to be clever and cute rather than being clear first. That answer your question, or?
What I'm trying to say is like, can you give me an example of how is it you work clever? Like, how do you be clever after being?
Well, if you're designing something, like have it so that people can understand what it is without at first glance. If you start get the first glance down, then you can start being clever. Like you can. Yeah, and mobile, I think it's like it's been cut down to 3.5 seconds. So you have like 3.5 seconds to get. Yeah. So like my daughter, like I tried to do stuff with, I put the ponies there first, and then she's like, okay, find where the parties are. So she did association by color. So she said pink party, blue was something else. So then if you start playing with the labels, then you can find out a little bit more of how the user will interact. But you want to be actually, the clear is get the message across as fast as possible. Over here first. Yes?
What's the biggest trend that you find developers are moving into, or that people are developing into, that they should probably move away from?
I'm finding that people are really digging this off-canvas stuff, and it's not always clear whether there is off-canvas content. Off-canvas navigation it looks sexy because you touch it and it comes sliding in and then it slides away. But realistically, if you do a jump to the bottom with your navigation, users don't know the difference between the slide out and the slide in. Over here first, sorry.
You showed some button pushes, like 24 pixels and 2 pixels. Since not all screen resolutions are the same, what like the standard is?
Yeah, I originally had the centimeters in my presentation, and then I thought no one's gonna do this. No one's gonna want centimeters, so I took it out. But this is the easiest way to do it is to take your finger And if you have an ink pad or just like a marker and just like do that's a pretty good. So it's like 72 is I think is like 1.988 something centimeters square. So it's pretty big. Yes.
Well, you mentioned that the user is using the orange press or but that means like if you say that the trend is much shorter. So that was a user experience different if you're playing that 1 minute video.
Well, everything is going to be shorter just simply by the nature of having to be on a device and on the web. But the press versus tap is just simply an interaction model that we tend to think about on release or mouse click. Kids have this tendency to like hold it there, and that's why I'm saying like do the.
So if you test that ball against them, how long they will do it?
They hold it until it actually starts to do something. So that's so. If you have like an on-release event on a mobile app, and the kid will hold their finger there, and they'll hold it. And if nothing happens, they just press harder. And nothing happens, they'll press harder. So that's why I'm saying use like a on-press event, because like the minute you touch it, something happens, they let go. So that's sort of the way to think about it. And like I said, we did a user testing thing for a company where we had it was an app that had a faux keyboard on it, like a piano keyboard. The piano keyboard was like graphics, didn't do anything. Kids were actually in the user testing like standing on it because they're like, I'm going to make this damn piano play notes, whatever it does, and they were like trying to jump on iPads and stuff, so it became really ugly. Any other questions?
I've seen adults do that too.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, no? All right. If I say, this is my last thing, if you ever do user testing with kids, do it before you give them candy and cake and all the other sticky sweets and stuff like that. All right, so thank you.